I'm making a solid body Çifteli, or a two-string Albanian lute. I cut these out on the bandsaw. It's maple, and I will glue them together before I do any other work on it. Wipe off the excess glue. And then once it's dried, I will sand it so it's even. And this will also, it's going to be an electric Çifteli with a humbucker pickup. Alright, stay tuned. Okay, I added a few more clamps just to make sure it's good and solid. So while the body is drying, I'm going to work on the neck. This will get attached like that, little scarf joint. Whoop. Use it to hold the pieces together while I get the good clamps on there. Those really aren't tight enough to do a good job, so I like using C-clamps for this. Wipe off the excess glue. Okay, we'll let that dry and then we'll pick up where we left off. Okay, just made the fingerboard. I forgot to push play on the camera, so sorry about that. But there it is, and then once it's together, I'll measure and cut this off accordingly. Body is glued together and sanded roughly. I have my neck pocket marked and my rotor cavity marked out. So I'm going to set up the rotor, cut out these holes, and I'll be right back. Okay, everything is clamped and ready for the pockets to get cut out. Pockets cut out. I may have to go in there with a chisel just to clean it up a little bit. That's just my template. neck is dry, so I'm going to glue the fretboard on the neck now. Similar to the way I glued the headstock on it, I'm going to clamp it down on the bench and clamp the fingerboard to the neck, glue it down. I'll be back. The fretboard is glued to the neck. I'm just going to wipe off any excess glue so it'll be less sanding. It's the next day. I'm going to take the clamps off the neck, and then I will drill out the holes for the fret markers and the side markers. There you have it. And then after I install the fret markers, I will router the back end so it's rounded. One more thing I want to point out. I always make the fretboard a little bit wider than the neck, so I will plane this so it's even. I'm going to mark the frets before I drill out the holes for the markers. It's 1, 4, 7, 8, 10, and 12. All right, got them all marked. Now I'll drill a 1/4 inch hole. So before I install the fret markers, I'm going to plane the side so it's even with the neck. I like to clamp it down so it doesn't move around on me. Oops. There, now it's even, the neck. And I'll install the side markers, the fret markers, and then I will router the back, round it off. Now I'm going to drill the holes for the side markers. I'm using mahogany for the fretboard markers. It's a nice dark contrast, and then I'm going to use probably black for the side markers. Just a little bit of super glue, and pop it in, and then this will get sanded down so it's even with the fretboard. And for the side markers, I can get my cutters. These are also my fret cutters. They're great because they're flat and they get real close to the wood. And I snip them. There you have it. I'm going to finish sanding the neck with the palm sander. See, it's mostly round, but I want to smooth off the little ridge there. I want to taper these down, little wings on the headstock. All right, I will be back after it's sanded. Before I finish sanding, I need to slice off about 1/8 of an inch off the face of the headstock. Otherwise, the tuning keys won't fit. They'll be too short. So I'll do that on the bandsaw. Now that the fret slots have been cleaned out, I cut each fret individually. This neck will have 12 frets, and I have a block of wood here. It's 1 1/8 inches, the depth of that hole. So what I'll do to measure them properly is I'll insert the fret material into this hole. It's 1 1/8 inches. Then I'll get my fret snippers. And bring this down a little bit so you can see. A little more. Okay, and then I'll just cut them one at a time. And they come right out. 1 1/8 inches. So I'm going to cut 12 of these, and then we will go to the fret press and install them. All right, meet me at the fret press. All right, we are at the fret press. Just line this up, and I'll grab a piece of fret. Yep, I'll just set it in here. And then give it a little press. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to get it in there. Just got to make sure they're lined up. That's it. And then I will trim the ends off and file them. So I'll install the rest of them, and then we'll take it to the other bench and we'll glue them in. you have it. Now I'm going to glue these in before I file them. Right over here. Super glue, any kind will do. I just put a drop on both sides on the ends. Okay, now I'll set this aside to dry and we will work on the body.
You have to drill out some holes for the electronics.
Okay, I have to install the jack down here, and then the volume knob will be somewhere around here. Then I have to drill a hole all the way through so I can wire the pickup to the volume and to the jack. So I'll be right back. Right, I got my spots marked to drill, and let's head over to the drill press and we'll start making some holes and a lot of sawdust. Real quick, look at the size of this Forstner bit. It's a 57 millimeter. And I just bought this, set me back about $21, and I only need to drill 2 millimeters deep for the cover plate. Okay, I just changed the bit to accommodate the volume knob, the potentiometer. I'm going to drill that down now about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, the frets are dry and they're ready to be filed. Before I file them, I'm going to snip off the ends, the excess hanging off there. These are fret snippers. Oh, my eye! Just kidding. Now ready to get filed. I use this filing block to start out with. It's got a flat edge on one side and like a 45 degree on the other, on the second side. Bought it on probably Amazon or one of the cigar box parts stores. Okay, when I'm done using the block file, I use these small files. And they're file on both sides, but the ends are smooth. Where's the camera here? All right. It's file on both sides, but the ends are smooth so you won't hurt the wood. And just go around each fret, kind of to crown it. Start at this end. The frets have been filed and nice and smooth. No fret burrs. Now it's time for the logo. Now it's time for some tung oil for the finish. Put a real thin coat on with a towel, and I did blow it off with an air compressor before the logo and after filing the frets, before the tung oil. The can has been shaken already. Got an old rag. Brings out the shine. See the difference there? And you can go right over the frets because the frets will get cleaned off. Now after 15 minutes, this gets wiped off and a second coat gets applied. And then while this is drying, we can work on the body some more. Maybe we'll put in the electronics. There, that's it. It's been 15 minutes. I'm going to wipe off the first coat and then apply a second coat. I marked the holes for the tailpiece on the body there. I can see them there, a little shiny black. I'm going to drill those out, and I'm going to use a hinge for the tailpiece to hold the strings. These are great because it's a 1-inch hinge, and it's got 2 holes for each string, and they line up perfectly on it for a Çifteli. There you have it. Now, I'm not going to install it yet because I have to put the tung oil on here like I did the neck, and I'll probably do that now. It's applied the same way, so I'm not going to show that. Okay, I also just drilled a hole for the ground wire. It'll go on the tailpiece connecting to all the electronics, and that should avoid any of the hum from the humbucker, or any buzz from the wires. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to show it, but here it is. I put the first coat on. body. So now it's time to wipe it off and put on a second coat. There. Done. Let that dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll install the electronics and possibly connect the neck, and it should be a done deal. Thanks for watching. It's the next day. The body is dry. I like the way it came out. It's shiny, it's smooth. So today we'll install the electronics, and I'll install the electronics before I install the neck because it'll be easier to flip it around. All right, let's go. I like to sand the bottom of the pot off just so I can ground it, and the solder will stick better if this is scuffed up a little bit. I just use scrap sandpaper. That's good. This is 22 gauge wire, so my wire cutters were not set to 22 gauge, but they are now. There, much better. This would be the ground wire that goes to the tailpiece. These will all get grounded to the back of the potentiometer. This thing is super handy. It's like a third hand. Go 3 30 seconds for these. Now I like to put a little bit of wax in the holes, just so the screw goes in easy, doesn't bind up on me. Just use a little candle, rub the screw on the wax, put it in the hole. I'm going to drill the holes for the jack plate now. Yeah, that was a little challenging screwing in because it was kind of rolling on me, but it's in, it looks good. Now I'm going to solder the tailpiece to the ground wire and then fasten that to the back end. Now while the soldering iron is heating up, I'm going to sand off the finish on this so the solder sticks to it. Okay, the tailpiece is installed. That took a little longer than I'd wanted because I had to re-drill the holes out. They were too small. And we're going to install the neck now. Yeah, I'm installing the neck. I have the first hole drilled. I forgot to turn the camera on. But I'm going to drill 2 more holes. So I'm going to have 3 screws going down straight to hold the neck in. And I have my bit set to 1 1/4 inch. Got the tape to mark it so I don't go through the neck. There, the neck is installed. Now we'll install the tuning keys. I'm going to go with gold tuning keys. That'll match the color of the frets and the knob. But I put a knob on the volume control there with gold. And of course the tailpiece is a gold colored hinge. Now the holes are a little bit tight, so I'm going to file them out a little bit to get them to fit. Have a round file for that. Just gently bore it out. And it could be from the tongue oil. These are 10mm nuts. Let's see if that pulled it all the way. Yep, those are tight. Now I'm going to drill out 2 little screw holes for the back here, and I will connect those. I'll be right back. These screws are tiny, and they usually give you 1 extra screw in every pack of tuning keys, which is a great idea because if you drop it, they're not going to be easy to find. And not with my eyes. So I save the extra ones. I haven't dropped one yet, but it's good to have them on hand. Here's one. And number 2. Yeah, these the white ends here, these are just protective stickers. I'll peel those off, and there's the gold underneath. Here. Next, I'm going to cut a bolt and use it for the nut right there. This one here. There would be perfect for a nut. I'll be right back. This is how I cut the nuts. Did you know that on a wire cutter, these screws, or these holes here, correspond to the size of the nut, and you can actually cut a nut with these. I learned that from an electrician friend of mine. Shout out to Tom. And let me get the right length. Let me measure this. We got 1 inch minus 1/8. So 15/16 of an inch. A little too long. I'm going to shorten that here. And you just squeeze. There you have it. Here's the other end. And that'll be perfect right there. Now I'm going to string it, and then we can make a bridge. This is how I make my bridges. I cut out my piece of wood, and then I'll clamp it to my bench with a couple clamps, and then I'll cut a slot in it with a coping saw. Then I'll put a piece of fret wire on there, I'll glue it in, and I'll cut 2 notches, 1 for each string. One thing I forgot to do was to clean the tongue oil off the frets. So I have one of these neck blockers, and I'm sure what they're called, and I use steel wool. It's really quick. It comes right off and it gives it a nice shine. You see the difference, the ones that are not clean and the ones that are clean. It's finished and I'm happy with the way it turned out. My solid body electric Çifteli with a humbucker pickup, of course the Albanian sign. There's the back of it. Cover plate for the electronics. I'm going with a wireless unit right now. I've got a little amp. 2-string tuners. Now the way you tune a Çifteli is you find the note you like on the first string and the 3rd fret on the 2nd string should match that sound. So incidentally it happens to be an open E and an open B on the 2nd string. Let's see how it sounds. I have the amp set to clean right now. Turn it up a little bit. A little song I wrote while my Çifteli gently weeps. Thanks for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe.